very excited today to have this conversation between Reverend Dr. Philip Helsel, who is our associate professor in the Nancy Taylor Williamson Distinguished Chair in Pastoral Care at Austin Seminary, and Reverend Dr. Esteban Montilla. And Dr. Helsel will be introducing him. We're going to be talking about pastoral care of Latinos and Latinas. Today, this is part of our Conversations in Wellbeing Series, which is funded by a grant from the Spirituality Mind Body Institute at Columbia Teachers College. So it's wonderful to be here with you all today, Dr. Helsel.
Thank you so much, Erica, and thanks for your work setting this all up. I'm so delighted to have Dr. Esteban Montilla with us today. He is Associate Professor of Counseling and Coordinator of Counseling Internships at St. Mary's University, and also bilingual counselor and pastoral educator at the Ecumenical Center for Education, Counseling, and Health. Dr. Montilla is a Latino-American theologian and psychotherapist known for his ability to integrate science and religion. His research interests involve aging, palliative care, neuroscience of psychology and religion, human personality, and interculturalism. He's written extensively on counseling older adults, the integration of psychotherapy and spirituality, family therapy, pastoral counseling, and post-colonial counseling. His book, Pastoral Care and Counseling with Latinos and Latinas, is used here at Austin Seminary in the Introduction to Pastoral Care class. He is one of the pioneers in the hospice movement and counseling profession in several Latin American countries, including beginning doctoral programs in Mexico, Nicaragua, and Venezuela. Well, as you can see, it's such a delight to have him with us today. And I remember first meeting Dr. Montilla when he came to give a lecture in one of the EBW programs, and he spoke in Spanish about the topic of sexuality. And I got, again, a chance to work with Dr. Montilla as we did this grant together in San Antonio over this past year. So I'm so excited to see you, and welcome to you. I'm looking forward to your presentation today. And I'm glad that everyone is able to be here who can be here as well. Thank you.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. And that more than a presentation, I would like to consider this a conversation, a dialogue. And so as I'm kind of sharing with you some of the thought of what do we mean by pastoral care and pastoral counseling with Latinos, and how we see it from a post-colonial perspective. That is that okay to have that kind of conversation? Is that what you?
Yes, that sounds wonderful, Dr. Montilla. Great.
Okay, so
and we can converse. We can converse, and then we can open it up to questions later on. I'm sure people will be eager to ask questions as well. So good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll say a few things about how we approach this concept of pastoral care and counseling from a post-colonial perspective. And as you know, so we have a Latino community in the U.S. that is keep growing and growing, and that now we are approaching the 70 million people. So wherever you are in every single state in the U.S., you will find Latino in your church. These Latinos come from many different countries, and some actually born in the U.S. with this Hispanic heritage. So if you are a pastor, most likely you will have some members that will be connected in one way or another to the Latino community. So it's a very, we use the word intercultural experience. So not much multicultural, but intercultural. And the intercultural movement have taken over, I will say, the multicultural movement. In the sense that this is not about just integrating, and it's one of the tenets of the church, that the church need to be Catholic, and with a lower C, not a capital C. And the word Catholics mean inclusive, not universal, because we can be in every part and be highly, exclusive, excluding people. So the church was meant to be one. The church was meant to be holy, separated for a specific purpose. To be apostolic in the sense that to follow the teachings of Jesus, and to be Catholic. And that means that everybody is included. So as we look for instance, baptism, have never been practiced before, so is a production of this movement that eventually was called Christianity, because this initiation symbol was possible to be done by men and women. The other one was only men, because circumcision was only for male, for whoever has a penis. So baptism was already, nobody before that have ever practiced that. You might say there were some people bathing before reading the Bible or praying, but not as a demonstration. This is what you need to do in order to belong to this group. So anyone, it doesn't matter, is a man, is a woman, or intersex, like the case on the book of Acts, chapter 8, when we have an intersex that actually also said, can I be baptized? So beginning there, the idea is that if we want to be a church in that perspective, we need to include everybody. So the word intercultural doesn't only consider people to be part of the circle, but the people in the circle can actually take an active part and also become leaders. So it's not like the ghetto mentality. Here is everybody is inside the circle, but inside the circle there's more circle. They're only the people that actually the dominant group might have access to power. So the intercultural movement is an invitation to see that the power is distributed based on the merit, not based on nationality or not based on any privilege. So in this concept, then, I'm talking about the intercultural movement. It's about inclusion, not just integration. Is that so? That would be one of the main tenets of the post-colonial perspective on pastoral care and counseling. You can apply the same thing for even if you're not from the Christian faith, if you come from a different group. Another element beside the intercultural, this word pastor is a metaphor. So we use metaphor to convey meaning, and because we don't want just to be too realistic, so we use metaphor. No one is really a pastor. Pastor is a man and a woman who take care of animals. So this is a metaphor from farming, and that it was an interesting one because farming was when you talk about agriculture and livestock, the farming that was connected to livestock was seen as more important than the farming connected to agriculture. And you can see in the narrative of Genesis chapter 3 of, Cain and Abel. Cain represented the agricultural farmers, the one who produce cereals or fruit, and the livestock representing, Abel. So the people that were seen working with animals were seen more important in society. So this metaphor, so no one is ordained to be a pastor, because you cannot be ordained to be a pastor. You're ordained to be a minister, either a deacon, an elder, bishop, presbyter, but you cannot be ordained to be a pastor. A pastor is a function, because once again, it's a metaphor, and metaphors are not reality. So, and what a pastor does is, number one, is to protect. And this is an important function in pastoral care in the Latino community. This idea of protection, it is central. And protecting from predators, from people who want to take advantage of our group. This is key. That's why when we talk about the function of pastoral care within the Latino community, sometimes it's about resisting and defending the right of the other. So resisting the work of evil, resisting oppression, the discrimination, the exclusion, where it is important to exclude, but only on behavior. So never to exclude because of color, sexual orientation, nationality, language, but exclusion only based on behavior. If someone is behaving in a criminal way, in a cruel way, need to be separated from the community, but not because of any other reason. So the first pastoral function is that to protect, in meaning sometimes resist the evil and sometimes defending from the evil. So that's a key element. And I will say, and notice that I put that number one, because if you cannot be protected, you cannot go to the second one, which is about caring. So caring for the group, that means making sure that the what we call people have access to food, to water, to shelter, so that's the caring, to health. See, I'm sorry, it's missing the L there. So is the access to health. That's caring. The second key element of being having the function of pastor. And so anyone could be a pastor, not just the one who is ordained. There are other functions that can actually, this function can be done by someone who is not from the clero, from the it's unfortunately sometimes we talk about lay ministry, but so that second one is key, making sure that our people have access to food, to water, to shelter, to health. Now, another function which is very important is that the people have opportunities. So it's not just about wanting this. If you could be whoever you want to be, and that's a little bit deceiving. See that in life, yes, it's important who we are, and it's important that we take decision and make determination, to have determination, but we also need to have opportunity. So I'll give you an example. When I was 14, I knew I wanted to be a scientist, but I had no way. I have so many limitations at that time because I wanted to go to the United States, to study there and be able to equip myself to be a scientist. Well, about 35 years ago, I went to a conference in a country called Colombia, and there were two doctors that came to do the conference, Dr. Montgomery and Dr. Hansen. They were there. I went to them and I say, this is what I would like to do. And so Dr. Hansen offered me the opportunity to have a scholarship. And then I went to the US. So thanks, if I don't have Dr. Hansen and Dr. Montgomery, I will not achieve what, even if I have the desire and the determination. So a pastor will provide opportunities. Opportunity for what we call increase our human development index. See that? And that includes education. Then when I went to do my master in the PhD, it was too much money. I didn't have the access to that money. But there was another pastor. His name was Pastor Ammerman. He said, how much do you need for your doctorate degree? And he offered me a scholarship. So when I graduated debt free. So I have the opportunity given to me. So that's what we need in addition to the desire and determination. We need opportunity, and this is what a pastor will provide, that kind of opportunities, that for transcendence, see, that from education, that and certainly another key element that a pastoral caregiver will provide is opportunity for, and this is for, recreation and wellness. So you can actually see the emphasis of this idea of what a pastor will do. The classical one is still there, is it right? The healing, the sustaining, and we're not ignoring those, the reconciling, those classical functions of pastoral care and counseling and guiding. They're still there. But you see the way we put it now. So again, it's not that we're saying that we don't pay attention to those classical functions of pastoral care. It's just that we have a different way to look at it. So that, in fact, as you know, the word pasture, you see, this is what I'm here now in my ranch dealing with cows. And this is what I'm seeing now. I'm seeing the pasture of my cows, what are they eating, how we providing the care so they can actually produce the milk that we want for them to produce. So it is a very appropriate metaphor for what you and I do as religious leaders. That all right, so that will provide us the definition. Any question or reaction to that definition of pastoral care and counseling? I'll mention a word on counseling, perhaps, before we move on. So this word counseling is a very interesting one. It's nothing new. This has to do with the word counsel. And it's a group of people coming together. So it's a group of people gathering to collect more information, more data, in order to increase wisdom and therefore make better decisions. And if you make better decisions, you can actually live a little bit better. So, see the history and origin of this word counseling. It's about counsel, coming together. It's about community. So what counseling is the coming together to increase wisdom. So if we increase wisdom, we can make better decisions. And if we make better decisions, we can have a better life. That's the whole idea of community. So counseling is the movement from individualism to community. We realize that we can get farther in life, not alone, by joining effort with someone else. So that in forming that community, then we have the opportunities to increase wisdom. So counseling is about increasing wisdom. It's not telling people what to do with their life. Now, so the key element of counseling is what we call dialogue. And dialogue has three elements, which is silence, listening, and language, which is only humans have that opportunity of language. So silence, first, silencing within us, silencing those biases that we might have, silencing those worry that we might have, silencing those distractions, like I think today is called phobing in English, silencing those distractions, like have to check the phone while having a communication with someone. That's called phobing. So that in Spanish is an interesting word because it's ningún foneo, which is to make someone nobody. So when we are having a conversation and we take a look at our phone, we are making the other person a nobody. It's a very interesting word that was invented in 2012. But coming back to the key element of counseling is dialogue. Dialogue is so important that in the Christian community and in the Jewish community, dialogue is God. They call it davar in Hebrew and logos in Greek. So it's so important, dialogue. So what do we do today? We do a lot of debate. And debate, we get distant from each other. So we disconnect from each other. In dialogue, we come together. So it's not my idea is better than yours. My faith is better than yours. If we do that, that's debating. It's trying to find who has the best opinion. But in dialogue, I have this experience, you have that experience, and we can actually create community with people with different experience, not the same experience. So the Pastoral Care and Counseling with Latino is approaching without the intention to change the other person, the intention to get to know the person, and also to get to learn from the person and to increase wisdom, not to give wisdom. So that's the key difference. That so this is why dialogue is so central. There is a movement right now. It's called From Debate to Dialogue, and it's very appropriate now when we're facing this issue, with the Hamas group and the Israel group, in which more than ever we need to resurrect dialogue and resist to engaging in debating, because that create more barrier, disconnect us. So I'll give you an example. most Latino will, this is a silly example. And I'm looking at, I see some people that I know, so that you will appreciate the taco, but you will appreciate the hamburger. So, and sometimes you have a taste or want to have a taco, but sometimes you want to have a hamburger. It's not like one is better than the other. When we engage in that comparison, we are debating. And so we are comparing to see who is better. And if you go that route, we are in trouble. So it's not that one food is better than the other. It's just that it's an addition to the culinaria that we have, that sometimes we want pasta, sometimes we want rice, sometimes we might have potato, but it doesn't mean that one is better than the other. It's just that it is a way to increase. It was the same thing with English. At the beginning, it was hard because for many of the Latino people in the US, because they were pushed only to speak English. And then their parents, you want to left behind, you want to speak English well. And so many Latino in the US, in pursuing that, decided, oh, cool, that it was not a good thing to learn the language. But it's not that English is better than Spanish, or Spanish better than English. It's just that a human being who has wisdom expose himself or themselves to several languages, and it's easier for us to communicate. And this is even Jesus said it. You can do this, and in Matthew 13:51, that a wise person, educated person, value what they have, but also welcome the new things. It's not about denigrating the yesterday to celebrate it today. It is that yesterday was important, but today is a different day. But, and the same thing with culture. It's not that one culture is better than the other. Every culture culture is another word for learning. You can substitute that word culture from learning. It's the same. Culture is from cultivation, from farming. Again, see that is the thing that you have learned, like language, religion, like perspective on sexual identity. So that's culture, things that we have learned. So that in this learning are central. It's not that it's better. There are many learnings that are obsolete. There are many learning that's not necessary to have it anymore, because we are evolving as a society. So the culture is evolving because we have new learnings. And I'm now sharing with some of my brothers and sisters that didn't have the opportunity that I had to kind of get out of the ranch and go to the city and become a professional, a social scientist. I mean, they didn't have that opportunity. So, but that the fact that I got new learnings doesn't make me better than them. It's just that increased my wisdom. But the fact that we might have more wisdom doesn't make us better humans. So that or superior, I will say the word superior people than the other. Okay, so that's basically the initiation of the conversation of what pastoral care and counseling actually imply. So we celebrate what we have, and we don't have to denigrate our history, denigrate our past. All right, so I'll open with some question reaction to the conversation that I just shared with you.
Well, Dr. Montilla, thank you so much for all of this, for putting pastoral care in such a rich developmental perspective for us, and for really rooting it in our Christian faith and showing how through baptism we need to be inclusive, and one culture, one group shouldn't be lifted up over another. I was wondering, I have a list of questions here, and I'll only probably do one of them, and then I'll let the group ask some questions too. But I was wondering, in your experience, and this is kind of a high level question, but I want to ask it, so I'll just do it anyway. In your experience setting up hospice programs and doctoral programs in Mexico, Nicaragua, and Venezuela, how have those contexts shaped the nature of pastoral care, do you think?
Yeah, thank you. It was challenging at the beginning because of we had been colonized, and the colonization of the mind is, this is what we have, and this is enough. So we don't need to know more. So the initial was hard because it was to demonstrate and to awaken this need to keep growing and becoming. Like the example of that I mentioned to you of Acts chapter 8, when it was prohibited to teach the Bible to an eunuch. Eunuchs were male with female characteristic. So it was prohibited to teach to them. And then Philip was forced to be taken and put, face to face with an eunuch, which was, so woman did not count, eunuch did not count, children did not count, but the writer of the book of Acts is saying that the time of the Spirit has come, and it's a different era. This is an era when everybody actually counts. So the writer is trying to invite us to see that this eunuch, so he is in this chariot, and he was lucky to be working as perhaps treasurer to a queen. And when Philip is taken there, he was filled with biases and this sense that I have enough, I am good enough and better than the other. So it is not the transformation of the eunuch, but the transformation of Philip. So Philip was the one who needed to see the kind of work that God was doing. So he was placed there with the eunuch, not opportunity, not by his choice. He did not make that choice. The angel took him there and forced him to have an immersion experience with someone that he rejected, someone he thought did not count. He was surprised that the eunuch was reading the Bible. He was reading the book of Isaiah. And he asked a question, the eunuch. So Philip asked the question, do you understand what you're reading? And then the eunuch said, how am I going to understand if nobody teach me? That's a protest for the exclusion that no eunuch could be taught the Bible. Not only taught, they cannot enter ever, not even 10 of their generation, to the sanctuary. So they were prohibited. But Philip needed to know, and I'm not talking about Dr. Philip Helsel, I'm talking about Philip's, the one in the
you're
narrative
speaking to
of
me
Act
too. Thank you. Yeah.
of Act 8, which is saying, how am I going to understand if nobody taught me? And then they kept going, and so the eunuch saw water. So what is the impediment? What is keeping you from baptizing me? Only the biases. But Philip was already converted at that moment and baptized the eunuch. And the text this is, and the eunuch continued happy with his trip. He did not stop being a eunuch. And then Philip was taken back by the angel. So that's the transformation. And this was the most difficult part in Latin America, to basically motivate, persuade the pastor that we were working with to see that there was room to learn, that there was more in the text, that there were other meaning in the text that we were not somehow paying attention. So it was not that the meaning before was wrong. It's just that the text is so rich. They have layers that we have not discovered. And so this was the challenging, but I think just to give you an idea, the first time that we opened a master program in counseling, we have 91 applicants. See that, and we wanted to have a cohort of 25. So we have 90. So there's this need, and it was an opportunity with an American university, an accredited university. We got someone who said, I want to provide 85% of the scholarship, and the entire group graduated. So, and they're serving now in Colombia, in Argentina, in Guatemala, Nicaragua, and Mexico. So, thank you for that. That's a too long answer.
No, it's a wonderful answer. Thank you, Dr. Montilla. It really does bring it to life. And so I think let's go now to questions from the group.
I think in the practice, you will see protecting from one of the key elements from exclusion, just because maybe they did not have the language. And so people making assumptions that this person doesn't speak English, for instance, then might be not a wise person. See that? So protecting from that kind of exclusion based on assumption that were not present. Another one, when you have some economics needs, it's easy to be exploited. So that protecting from employers who were even paying our people less than the minimum wage. So I had two experiences, and that was an interesting one with one pastor in the state of Texas, that he spoke with the patron, with the boss, the supervisor, and because this person was not working without document, the person had document and working permit. But even if they don't have working permit, everybody who works is entitled to at least the minimum wage. But the pastor was able to speak with the supervisor, and they increased the salary. At that time, I think it was 7 something, and he was getting paid $5. So that kind of protecting, because the person assumed that this person has nobody is not a member of any union, nobody to advocate. So to advocate for our flocks is part of that protection as well. And sometimes it's the mistreatment from physicians that because you might not look, as a member of the dominant group, or maybe you might have some accents in the language. You are giving only, if the other person they're giving 10 minutes, you're only giving 3 minutes for so this is a kind of small intervention and more protection of our group. Thank you for that question. Well, I think the group of Dr. Helsel has great resources on this. They shared some of that in our last meeting. But I think pastoral care from a post-colonial perspective, there are several books in that could be a good resources that I can actually provide you with a longer list of that. I think we need to see, it's not like, once again, that the traditional understanding of pastoral care is wrong. It's just that increasing our perspective, what it means to be a pastor in this reality of today, which is an intercultural reality. So that, so I will say pay attention to the post-colonial pastoral care perspective, in which we're not approaching people as superior or inferior. We're approaching people as human, not as someone who is only at the receiving end, but also at the giving end. So when we approach our church, for instance, instead of coming and say, this is our goal for this year, if you're appointing as a pastor, and if you get there, this is the vision and the mission and objective, you're missing the point. Just interview the members, provide a survey. Anton Boysen was a pastor in 1923 who invented CPE. But Anton Boysen was a surveyor. So he worked for churches, surveying churches what they need. So as you are appointed to a church, it's important to collect the data. Where do they see themselves in 1 year? Where do they see themselves in 5 years? That's a vision, and that's a mission, in which is not given by the conference, it's not given by the bishop, is the mission of the group. So that, and the fact that we might have a Master of Divinity or a Doctor of Theology, and we are a pastor or a Doctor of Ministry, doesn't make us having the great goals. Because the idea is that the goal comes from the people. So that's key in reaching out, not as someone just at the giving end, but also at the receiving end. So that we actually listening to see where they want to be, and then a leader from behind. Not so. One key element of that image of the pastor is that if a pastor is leading sheep and he goes ahead, when he gets to the destiny, he might have 50, half of them. He has to be behind and kind of show them the way and protect them and care for them. So it's a leadership from behind, not I'm the one who knows. Do what I say, and you will be arriving at a good place. That's colonization. That's not necessarily to practice today. Thank you. And to have a liaison, a connection to groups, you need to designate someone. It's the point of contact. And so then that person can provide the pastor with information. So you might not be able, because normally a pastor is one pastor to 150 people. Like everything is about ratio now. And so like it's one chaplain to 35 to 40 people, one social worker to 50 people, and one pastor to 150. But it's not as easy to be able to pay attention to 150 people. Europe, but you can have key people representing different groups who are the liaison that they can collect that information and provide it to you. Like the Jethro mentality of Moses, you might not access to the 150, but the idea is to collect the data from them and know where they are. The first one right now, we have every month 30,000 people coming from Latino countries. So these people, 30,000 per month, most of them have no access to health, no access to shelter yet, because the process take about 60 to 90 days for people who are coming from seeking asylum or refugees to get a working permit. So in those 60 months, that's one of the challenges the churches are facing, because it is assisting these people with the basic needs: clothes, food, shelter. That's one, a big one. And this is not changing. And we cannot be just like Mr. Musk that go to the border with all this billions of money and just criticize and never make a contribution to the churches to assist, this community. If just to give an idea, if the government is providing 10 things, the churches are providing 90. So that, but these churches, not just Latino, these churches providing this service need our support right now. So right now, I will say that's the most demanding need. And it doesn't matter if you are in Austin, there are many. If you are in New York, you are in trouble too. If you are in San Antonio, if you are in Los Angeles, this is everywhere, because it's not easy to take 30,000 per month. And that is a little bit, that's only what the government is processing right now. Well, again, I think the church is now, I will say, fulfilling that. I'm sorry, that was a question to me, not just to the group. Thank you, Madison. I did, but I think the church right now is becoming the Church of Christ. And I'm not talking about the denomination. I'm saying the church that is actually showing Christ to people by not proselytizing, by just serving them. And not just the Methodists and the Baptists and Presbyterian. It's amazing what I'm seeing, how the church is being involved actively in reaching out and providing to the Latino community. Like more churches right now are providing English as a second language program for free. And I have some family members who are studying English in those churches 3 times a week. The university provider is quite difficult to get into. You have to have papers. These people don't have paper at the beginning. It takes like 90 days. So churches are doing that, basically providing those basic needs, but also options. I have someone right now who is already doing the validation of their study here in the US to go and pursue a master's degree. So this is I'm seeing this in church, and I'm just celebrating that move. That's the essence of spirituality. If spirituality means putting a pause to our need. to our reality to assist someone else. That's the essence of transcendence, is exit. It's a word, the same word for exegesis, is that we exit our own need to concentrate on the need of someone else.
Dr. Montilla, I just wanted to spend a little time reflecting with you on the many graces that you've given us in this conversation. And I don't know if you all have seen Dr. Montilla's book, Pastoral Care and Counseling with Latinos. If you haven't read it yet, I really highly recommend it. And then I'm also kind of wondering, Dr. Montilla, when there might be a new edition that comes out. This is such a rich book, and one of the things that I love about it is your foregrounding of liberation as liberation for Latinos as the central pastoral concern. And then everything else kind of flows from that. I also really love, both in what you've done with us today and also in your work as a whole, how you've integrated your vision of pastoral care with all the services of ministry and the functions of ministry throughout our long tradition. So there's this deep historical awareness. But then also today, you're calling us to be prophetic in our imagination with one another, and move beyond the old multicultural model where we were grateful for these differences between us towards a really deeply intercultural, where we give thanks for the ways that we belong to and are responsible to one another. I was wondering, I have more questions about self-care, especially for Latino pastors who are trying to do this every day. I can imagine that the burdens of trying to be prophetic and liberative all the time and exiting your own needs for the sake of your community might, over time, make it difficult to continue that community. But what I've really drawn from your talk today is that pastoral ministers can't just be on the sidelines. They have to have a public role, protecting and standing in the gap for their community.
Yes, and I think pastors have access to this detention center. When we go to this detention center, if you introduce yourself as a pastor, they have an open door. They're not closet. And just to give you an idea, there are places who are made to have 500 and they have 2,000 now. People sleeping in little bags there, one after the other. And I think just the state and the government cannot handle this anymore. So the church, doing what we were called to do, this is the moment to become involved. It doesn't matter if you have a political orientation or not. This is not about being a Republican or a Democrat or libertarian. This is about being a Christians, and we have, because not only people from Latin America, but also from the Caribbean and people even from Asia are in this group, and it is overwhelming. And that because I mentioned to you the figure of 30,000, those are the ones who are processing legally. Mm-hmm. But in some places they are above 200,000. See that?
Yeah. Okay, Dr. Montilla, thank you so much for your contribution to our conversation today, which I'm finding to be radically faithful. So I'm deeply grateful for your work with us today, and for, again, every chance that I have to engage with you is just such a blessing and a source of hope for me. So thank you so much.
No, thank you for the opportunity, and thank you for the questions. And I look forward to continue with this dialogue. And yes, I will. I'm working on not an updated version, but is another book on they have to do with integration of faith and religion in the pastoral counseling practice.
Wonderful.
So that will be that one will be also in English, available in English.
Wonderful. It's urgently needed. Thank you so much, Dr. Montilla.
Thank you very much.
Yep.